Hi everyone, Dubthany Steptano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Belle and Sebastian record, Girls in Peacetime Want to Dance. Belle and Sebastian is a Glasgow-based pop group known for their lavish string arrangements and endearing, gentle demeanor, charming melodies, quaint lyrics, dealing in themes of love and youth, innocence, God, and the trials and tribulations of those awkward formative years. They pull a load of influence from artists like the Velvet Underground and Nick Drake, numerous 60s psychedelic pop acts with a little bit of post-punk mixed in there. They've been dropping records since the 90s, and they are about as married to their sound as they are their album art aesthetic. Belle and Sebastian has never really strayed that far away from their sweet acoustic instrumentation and jangly guitars and shy vocals. However, the band has made some conscious efforts to step out of their musical comfort zone on their last few records, but none have been as surprising as the material the band has presented here on their latest record, Girls in Peacetime Want to Dance. I don't know who told Belle and Sebastian that, but they certainly heed the call, with a collection of beats and bass lines and synth sequences inspired by electro disco and indie-tronica from the 2000s. In a world where Arcade Fire is dropping singles like Reflector, why not? And the band strings these dance grooves out to sometimes 6 or 7 minutes, which has resulted in one of their longest albums yet. However, these dance cuts only really take up a portion of the record. There are plenty of guitar and string driven tracks in the track listing here, like the opening track on here, Nobody's Empire, or the song ALLIE, or the track The Book of You, which seem like just louder, electrified, more lively versions of what Belle and Sebastian would usually lay into a record. While the instrumentation might sound a little more visceral, at the core of these songs are just general Belle and Sebastian tracks, especially the song ALLIE, which has yet another clever set of lyrics that just kind of seem like a really quaint character portrait. Even though they keep up polite appearances when it comes to the vocals on this album, the band sounds totally done with being the soundtrack to your lazy Sunday novel reading. Instead, they seem like they really want to make the cut of your next dance mix instead. And in a way, it's kind of a welcome change of pace for me, even if this album does end up turning off more purist fans. It's at least going to be an interesting listen. Belle and Sebastian start incorporating these changes just a few tracks into the album with The Party Line, which features synthesizers and echo-drenched guitar leads that feel distilled from old MGMT and Cold War Kids records. There's even a weird low-pass, high-pass filter thing going on with the intro to the track that feels like I'm about to be introduced to like a really hard EDM drop or something like that. And even though I think the groove of this track is really mean on the verses, how sugary and just bright the choruses feel is kind of a turn-off. On songs like The Power of Three, the band really kind of tones things down, simmers down, but still wants to maintain those light dance grooves and those synthesizers. And in doing so, I think they actually lose a bit of their original charm and just kind of end up sounding a lot like any other dreamy synth pop band from SoundCloud. As much as Belle and Sebastian may seem eager to change on this record, they don't entirely let go of the past. There is the song Cat with the Cream, which is maybe the most Belle and Sebastian-esque song title I've ever heard in my life. It's a really slow, whisper quiet, atmospheric, and dreamy cut that brings forward the band's typically gentle style. It's really sweet on the ears. It's a beautiful track. If you like this song, I implore you to go back and listen to their older stuff, because this song really is much closer to their older style. And for such a banger album, the closing track on here is just mysteriously underwhelming. The dance numbers continue with the song Enter Sylvia Plath. And on this track, with the boy-girl vocals as well as the really theatrical presentation, this song is just ABBA's Fernando through and through, just electrified. And even though I appreciate that influence, I think ABBA gets way more flack than they should. I think they were a good pop group. I think they wrote good songs. I don't really think Belle and Sebastian's take on their style is all that fantastic. I think the groove and the synth sequences on this track fall a little flat and don't sound as exciting at the end of the track as they did at the beginning. It feels like a bit of musical tourism. The style that they're making this music in, it feels more like a fleeting interest than a passionate devotion. Even as they're pairing the music here with obnoxiously bright synthesizers and dramatically strummed guitar chords. It just feels like they want to get people dancing but not breaking a sweat. There's also the song Perfect Couples, which is a clever concept track with some really interesting lyrics, and this song instrumentally features some looped hand drums and some groovy bass. While I don't mind the instrumental on this track, I think Belle and Sebastian's typically flat and shy vocals don't really complement the song all that well. They kind of get lost in the clutter of the instrumentation and sort of just fall completely out of focus. And there's the song Play for Today too, which features the kind of flavorless Caribbean music mimicry that was a huge turnoff for me on the Arcade Fire record, their recent one. There are songs that I like on this new Belle and Sebastian album, but they're mostly tracks that resemble their older style, even if they are a bit louder and punchier. It feels like the band wants to take steps to change, but instead of just taking the plunge, they're dipping toes and coming through with just middle-of-the-road mediocre dance tracks. For me, what makes this record disappointing is that it feels like a bit of a loss of identity. Not a loss of talent, because at the core of a lot of these songs, it feels like Belle and Sebastian can still perform, they could still write. The lyrics, for the most part, are still pretty good and are maybe one of the few intact elements of Belle and Sebastian's original style. Lyrically, what's made the band great all along may still be on this album, but when it comes to the instrumentals here, they're not very flattering. They're not flattering for a Belle and Sebastian record. They're not flattering for a dance music record. Could they make a better dance record in the future? Possibly, you know, and why not? They've already come this far. I think there's some minor tweaking that could be made that would have made these songs more interesting. Whatever direction they end up taking, I hope they just put a little bit more heart into it. Kind of like on the track Everlasting Muse, which has a really slinky, jazzy bass line on the verse, and then when the chorus comes in and the climactic ending too, Belle and Sebastian transition straight into the Eastern Bloc, pulling folk music influences from countries like Turkey or even the klezmer tradition or polka music. There's just a really slow, grand, oompa feel to this part in the song that I thought went over really well, and it seemed like the band was really into the details of this kind of music, whereas I think the finer points of dance pop might have slipped by them slightly. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this LP. Transition. If you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Belle and Sebastian. Girls Want to Dance at Peacetime. Forever.